Buhari has hypnotized Nigerians like no other president. His failures, anti-people policies met with silence. Professor Kperogi. A United States-based Nigerian social critic, Professor Farouk Kperogi, has described President Muhammadu Buhari as the most successful hypnotist, saying even Adolf Hitler, the leader of Nazi Germany, does not come close. Kperogi said many anti-people policies and failures of Buhari's government were met with public silence or even approval in some cases, unlike the experiences of his predecessors. On his Twitter handle on Sunday, Kperogi said, "No president in the history of the world has been able to hypnotize citizens of a country with as much roaring success as Buhari has in Nigeria in the last 70 years. For example, like clockwork, every petrol price hike in Nigeria since 1966 used to be met with mass protests, but Buhari jacked up petrol prices multiple times by steep margins, the latest being last week, without as much as a whimper from citizens. In fact, Buhari's first petrol hike was greeted with demonstrations of joy by poor people in the northwest who threatened to kill anyone who opposed it. That was a first. I called it self-annihilating stupidity. Everyone knows this is because the professional protesters against insensitive government policies are now in government. That's the danger of leaving civic duties to a self-selected class of people. Now Nigerians have made peace with every fall in the index of social, economic, and political progress that has occurred in the Buhari regime. I saw a video of terrorists savagely whacking poor, defenseless abductees in their captivity and was drained emotionally by the suffering of the people in the video and by the knowledge that no one will hold Buhari regime accountable for its dereliction of its duty to secure the lives of Nigerians. It appears that diasporans like me, whose relationship with what Nigerians are undergoing a more vicarious than experiential, are more worried than Nigerians are. I am emotionally fatigued." That is scary, and I think, Nigerians in the diaspora, fact is you're not living. You might have lived, but your present reality is not that of a Nigerian. So when you are in that kind of space, I guess, from his theory, he calls it that everyone is hypnotized, but really, you're thinking of how you are going to survive. Again, it's no surprise the Buhari regime has just fantastically allowed impunity, because imagine not being held accountable. I mean, of course you can do anything, and I think, as he said with his predecessors, Nigerians would be able to have an outroar, an outrage, and be like, what is this? Able to speak against it. But in this case, I mean, what even happens? I think, and again, it seems like Nigerians haven't tried. Again, with the NSAS protest, for example, and the Lekki massacre, I mean, Nigerians just knew that holding the government accountable within within the constitution and the authorities in the country was just not going to be enough. What did we do? We tried international bodies, and of course, there's only an extent to which international bodies, can do, because it's a lot. I mean, we called on the UN, we called on what? There were so many international bodies that we called on, and we thought, it's very sad, very, very sad, and it's funny because how can you call it on international bodies and you're having to be explained to that they can only but warn? Like, what is that? People are dying, and you can't do anything, but you want to, what do you want to do? You just want to warn and have a tap on the wrist. A problem. Very big. I mean, there's just been so many problems. I mean, so it's funny because anyone who wants to vote back APC, again, I will not be surprised because, again, in 2019, if they were voted in, then, I mean, nothing really can scare Nigerians because fact is, the first 4 years were already so bad. And it's funny because, again, this man uses hypnosis as as the cause. But, again, it's not far-fetched because given the first 4 years, and for the fact that he was still in government again in 2019 and there wasn't any uproar. Yes, it was rigged. Yes, we understand that. But it's the reaction of citizens. And I think in some way, when the citizens are silent, they don't react, it gives a sort of approval in some sense. It is a lot to actually get through. But again, I don't think, some may say, hypnotize is a very strong word. But if you think about the atrocities of the Buhari regime and you'd say the lack of reactions by us as Nigerians, there are times where you think, wait, there should be a sense of urgency with this news. Sometimes you think you're like, did I just say what I heard? And certain things just happen. I mean, this one time, I've forgotten the name, but the severity of the matter was that this man in government who was basically in charge of data apparently was giving out data to terrorists. And then I think there are videos prior to him being in office that sort of alluded to the fact that he intended, to give out information and talking about Islam in some sort of, how do I say it, some sort of, in a way where it's like he was going to defend Islam, right? And so seeing that video and then years later seeing that he's in a place of power where he gives out information. So personally, I mean, that was one of the things where I was very much, wait, why is the sense of urgency of this news not high? I mean, of course, there are other things that have happened, but for data to be given to not just third parties, but I'm talking terrorists, that I think Nigerians will probably have several moments of just disappointment where they're like, you know what, I'm done. I mean, nothing else will shock me. Yeah, for Nigeria, that would not be a reality. I mean, sometimes you get to that point, you're like, you know what, nothing worse can happen. But I think every Nigerian has had that one bit of news or that one experience where, like, you know what, I'm done. Like, there's no hope. And personally, for me, it was that, because it wasn't the fact that, of course, the government is in the space as an enabler. So, if there's no accountability, impunity is everywhere. It's expected, right? But it was the reactions, because I was thinking, where is the sense of urgency? And I think, several news and several events that have occurred after, I still question. I'm confused. Where is the sense of urgency to react to this piece of news, to react to how bad things are? But things are going to change. But what I think, and don't forget to like and subscribe.